In this section 4 practice, we're going to take a look at compound inequalities. So those were and compound inequalities and or compound inequalities. So just to review, in and compound inequalities, both inequalities must be true in order for there to be a solution. And when we write our solution, we write it as one interval. Whereas in or compound inequalities, at least one inequality must be true in order for there to be a solution, and we write two intervals for our solution. So looking at our first example, we have x plus 1 is less than 7 and 2x minus 1 is less than 17. So I'm going to solve both of these intervals on their own and then write my solution. So x plus 1 less than 7. So to solve for x, we're going to subtract 1 from both sides and we get x is less than 7. For our second inequality, 2x minus 1 is less than 17. First, we're going to add 1 to both sides. So we get 2x is less than 18. Then we're going to divide both sides by 2, and we get x is less than 9. Now this is a very different type of compound inequality, where both of our and inequalities are the same inequality. They're both less than. So I have to figure out which inequality is true for both cases. So x less than 7 or x less than 9. So I think about it, any value I pick that is less than 7 is also less than 9. So the inequality I'm going to use for my solution that is true for both inequalities is the x less than 7. So the interval notation for x less than 70 is parenthesis negative infinity comma 7 parenthesis. And this is a very special case where we're not going to write it as 7 comma 9 because both of our inequalities are going the same direction. The more common type of example you're going to see for an and inequality is like our second one. Negative 15 is less than 4x plus 1 is less than or equal to 33. So when we're solving this compound inequality, we want to work to get the x by itself in the middle. And anything we do in the middle to get x by itself, we must do to both sides. So the first thing I want to do is subtract 1. And I'm going to subtract 1 from everything. So we get negative 16 is less than 4x is less than or equal to 32. Then we want to divide everything by 4. Negative 16 divided by 4 is negative 4, less than x, less than or equal to 8. So now, when I write my solution in interval notation, the left side of my interval is going to be negative 4, the right side is going to be 8, and if I'm picking out my parentheses and brackets, we have x greater than negative 4 on the left, so that's a strictly greater than, so it gets a parenthesis. And we have x less than or equal to 8, so we have an equal to, so it's going to get a bracket. Our last example says 3x plus 1 is greater than or equal to 7, or x minus 1 is less than negative 14. So this is an example of or. So we're still going to solve both inequalities. So if I start with the 3x plus 1 greater than or equal to 7, we're going to subtract 1 from both sides. So we get 3x is greater than or equal to 6. Then we're going to divide both sides by 3. And we're going to get x greater than or equal to 2. Now we want to solve our second inequality, x minus 1 is less than negative 14. We're going to add 1 to both sides, and we get x is less than negative 13. Now in this case, because it's an or, both inequalities don't have to be true in order for there to be solution. So as long as I have a number that's less than negative 13 or greater than or equal to 2, at least one of my inequalities will always be true. Now remember, when writing an interval notation for or, we always write two intervals, and we always start with the interval that contains the less than inequality. So when writing the interval for x less than negative 13, we're going to do parenthesis negative infinity comma negative 13, and the negative 13 is also going to get a parenthesis because it was strictly less than. Then we do our capital U, which is union, which stands for or, And now we're going to do our x greater than or equal to 2. So because it was an equal to, we have a bracket with the 2, comma, infinity with a parenthesis. So just a couple rules of thumb for intervals in general. You should never put a negative infinity on the right side of an interval, and you should never put an infinity on the left side. So if you are putting a negative infinity second, stop, double check, and look over what you're doing. Same thing if you write an infinity on a left side, you need to stop and see what you should actually be doing, because infinity and negative infinity can only go on one side of an interval. So a negative infinity can only be on the left side, and an infinity can only be on the right side. So let me know if you have any questions.